Take your mind into the wonderful world of physical, emotional, psychological, and spiritual wellness. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kinetic Hour. Conversations with you and guests. With your host, Kenan Wesley Mason. That's me. All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Kinetic Hour. I am your host, Kenan Wesley Mason. Welcome one, welcome all, as we once again are simulcasting live on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn all at the same time. I love doing these shows, simulcasting live to all three platforms. And then I go into the editing board, if you will, and then take it to my YouTube channel. And before I move any further, as always, there's always two. So make sure you go and subscribe to both of my YouTube channels. One is right here, the Kinetic Hour. And that is Kinetic, Kennetic, Kennetic, the Kinetic Hour. And my other YouTube channel is Kinetic Fit and Wellness Info, Kinetic Fit and Wellness Info, with all things health related, physical health, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health. Tell everyone you know to tune in to the Kinetic Hour, as I do the best that I can to bring the best in internet talk. I can't say internet radio because it's really not radio, but nonetheless, podcasting now. Podcasting, that's what it's called now, podcasting. And I'm glad that I'm able to bring this to you. But yeah, tell everyone you know to tune in to the Kinetic Hour. And go to my YouTube channels, The Kinetic Hour and Kinetic Fit and Wellness Info. Thank you, one. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm on here because I want to talk about something specific based on a special that I viewed last night. But first, I want to talk about just a couple of hours ago, right here in Los Angeles, one Andre Young, otherwise known as Dr. Dre, got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame today. And so I'll say congratulations to him, as it is long overdue. But I did see some things that really kind of struck me, being that he is labeled as the greatest hip-hop producer to this day. And I mean, there's other great producers in hip-hop that I love specifically, and I may name some, but a couple of things actually struck me that that wasn't mentioned during his induction on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, which is where celebrities and people that have been looked at as in high regard for their accomplishments in the field of entertainment or the arts of entertainment. And with all the stuff that's been going on in the entertainment industry, some peculiar things kind of struck me as he was getting his award. The first thing is that he failed to acknowledge his family. If I'm not mistaken, Dr. Dre has a total of 9 children, and one is deceased. And I think only three of them were there. One of them was on one of our local news channels with his grandchild, and but he wasn't there to take pictures with his father during the ceremony. Another thing that struck me is that he failed to mention any of his fellow members of the group NWA, which put him in the spotlight. Uh, Not to mention the world-class wrecking crew where he first started. I'm a hip hop head, I'm a hip hop junkie from way back, and I remember Dr. Dre from those days, from the days of the world-class wrecking crew, where he first started. With the high glitz and glamour clothing that they all wore once upon a time. I interviewed one of the founding members of the world-class wrecking crew a few years back, Alonzo Williams. Actually, I interviewed him twice on the old Aim to Purpose show. And, we share some old pictures of their days of the world-class wrecking crew. And, but he failed to mention one of the founding members of NWA, Eazy-E. Didn't mention his name. Another person he didn't mention was his brother, Warren G, that wasn't there, or if he was, he never came up to the forefront to have his picture taken with his brother. And there was a lot of people there. Snoop Dogg obviously was there. Snoop was there. Marshall Mathers, otherwise known as Eminem, Curtis Jackson, otherwise known as 50 Cent. They were all there in attendance. Of course, Jimmy Iovine was there, who actually he's been put on the map too because of Dr. Dre. I mean, he's made more money with Andre Young than any other artist before or after on Interscope recordings. I think Tupac Shakur might be a close second if he's still connected with Interscope, because I know all of his albums were on Interscope Records, courtesy of Death Row. So it just seemed peculiar that none of these names were mentioned. And the people that weren't there as well. Ice Cube wasn't there. DJ Yella wasn't there. MC Ren wasn't there. These are the other contributing members of the super group, or as they were labeled, the world's most dangerous group once upon a time, NWA, which was one of my favorites once upon a time too, and still is to this day. And Dr. Dre is a great producer. But we also know that now, years and decades later, that certain truths are coming out about who produced what and what he had his hand in and what he didn't, who really produced this hit, who really produced that hit. So just some peculiar things, being that he's been in the industry and in hip hop, like he said in another presentation, that he's been in hip hop for 40 of its 50 years, which is great. And he is to be commended, despite certain allegations that have been going around about him specifically, regarding his past and his past with his former wives and certain altercations that have taken place or on record through legal documentation. I think Suge Knight talked about this too on his YouTube channel, which is called Collect Calls, talking about how he's getting all these accolades, but he's been well known to be abusive to certain women of his past, including that of his recent ex-wife. So as time goes on, we'll see if anything else transpires with him regarding things of his past, as other artists are starting to be uncovered and the curtain is being pulled back to reveal these artists and some of the dirty deeds that they've done in the past that they haven't been held accountable for, including the phone threat from a couple of years back with one of the reality stars, I think from Love and Hip Hop or one of these shows. So that remains to be seen. But outside of that, you know, as far as his music career is concerned, he does deserve praise because he is a great producer. He has the longevity. He has the track record of being a great producer, even though he has only 2 albums to his name. But with those 2 albums, he's basically opened up a floodgate of producing a lot of great artists under him, under his direction. So I hope in the future that none of these negatives come to the light. But as we've been seeing, obviously, there are some things that may come to the forefront and that he may have to be held accountable for in the future. But he did get his star on the Walk of Fame, and I think it is long overdue, despite all the other stuff that has happened in his career, all the pitfalls. So congratulations to him, and I hope he enjoys it and keeps moving forward and keeps doing, making himself better, not only as an entertainer, but making himself better as a human being towards others. So kudos to Dr. Dre for that accomplishment. But what I want to talk about and discuss, I saw a special last night, and I'm going to segue into it by showing this clip. It's a couple of minutes long, but it's going to be a great segue for me to talk about this, which is really kind of struck me last night, and it's been getting a lot of hype. But I'm going to share this with the audience here. Just take a listen to this.
Well, Oprah isn't the only one taking them. Medications like Ozempic and Wegovy have changed the $160 billion a year weight loss industry.
Tonight, KCAL News reporter Jasmine Veal explains how.
Even Oprah is changing course when it comes to her weight loss journey. After a decade, she announced she is stepping away from her spot on the Weight Watchers board of directors, months after she admitted to taking one of the weight loss drugs.
Look at Oprah, she struggled all her life.
Outside her weekly Weight Watchers meeting in Pasadena, Margie Navarro says the company helped her lose 70 pounds.
Actually, I wasn't too happy. Look at me.
But she says losing weight is getting harder, and if she could afford it, would like to try what Oprah's trying.
And we always thought if there was a magic pill or shot, and there is.
A new Pew Research Center survey looked at how people felt regarding the weight loss drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy. It showed 53% think they are good options to lose weight, and 65% say willpower alone is usually not enough to lose weight.
I did the tirzepatide, and I had unbelievable results.
Sam Tejada, a functional health expert and author, says he lost 40 pounds on the weight loss drug last year. He says weight loss companies need to embrace it. Last May, Jenny Craig shut down after increasing competition.
So it's really shaking up the companies.
I came to this gym in Sierra Madre to ask people working out here if they are familiar with these weight loss drugs like Ozempic. Most have said yes, they are. Well, according to researchers, 3/4 of Americans say they also have heard about drugs like Ozempic. But weight loss experts caution that it needs to be about, well, lifestyle changes and that these drugs are not the magic bullet to eliminate obesity.
But you can't utilize that as a crutch. You still have to address certain things when it comes to lifestyle, your supplementation, your nutrition, exercise. All of that stuff is still important for you to maintain the weight off.
Jim Angus, who uses Weight Watchers, also tried the popular weight loss drug Wegovy and says he experienced horrible side effects.
I just was constantly nauseous, vomiting, sick all the time. I could barely, the day after taking the drug, I could barely get out of bed.
Tejada warns people can also overuse the drug and lose muscle mass, so it's important to always be checking in with a doctor. But he says if used correctly, it may just be that for some, obesity has met its match. In Pasadena, Jasmine Veal, KCAL News.
All right, so I'm going to come on out of there. Okay. All right. Well, I just saw this episode because the one and only we know as Oprah Winfrey. I actually got to see a Oprah taping too back in 2011 or 2012 in Chicago when she still had her Harpo Studios. And it was great. It was great. I got to see her and Ian Levanzant, which was great. But fast forward to today, because Oprah Winfrey for years, and I've talked about her and certain weight loss reports on previous episodes. And we all know that Oprah has had her ups and downs when it comes to her managing her weight. And she's been pretty much the talk of weight loss and weight gain pretty much her entire career. And she was an ambassador for Weight Watchers, like the report said, since 2015. And other celebrities, Jennifer Hudson and a few others, have endorsed Weight Watchers and one of their subsidiaries, which is Lean Cuisine. You see these products in your local grocery stores. You know how they tell you that these are health foods, and then they tell you to pop it in the microwave oven for weight loss. Microwaving your food, your weight loss food. You're microwaving your weight loss food. Weight Watchers and Lean Cuisine. And Jenny Craig was mentioned, which was a staple for decades, which finally, I guess, breathed its last breath because of, like they said, competition, other weight loss products, and in this case, weight loss drugs. So she had a special on last night about blame and shame and the weight loss revolution, because a lot of people, and in this case, in the case of this specific show, predominantly women, actually all the people that were discussed on this topic were all women that have had dilemmas with weight loss or weight fluctuations. And so the whole topic of this show last night, including the show that came on after, where people could ask their respective questions, was literally about endorsing these new drugs. And these drugs, some of them aren't so new, but they've gotten such popularity in pop culture that we see more celebrities that are endorsing this drug. More celebrities are coming forward saying that they've taken Ozempic or this other one, Wegovy or Mounjaro. Because here in America, the belief, the collective consciousness still is that if you have challenges with your weight, that the first option is to turn to drugs, right? Turn to drugs. You know, we live in a drug society. It's just what it is. And I'm not talking about the illegal drugs that we tell our children to stay away from, the cocaine, the heroin, right? We don't even hear about that stuff anymore. The crystal meth, right? Now, weight loss drugs are taking over and people are becoming dependent and even addicted to these weight loss drugs because we live in a quick fix society. We just do. We live in a quick fix society where we want everything yesterday. You know, I mean, it takes, for some people, it takes 5, 10, 15, 20 years to put on the extra weight for varying reasons that I'll discuss. But we've come to, again, the collective consciousness that the only answer is a drug, a pill, or in this case, an injection. And because of the marketing genius of especially the one Ozempic, because you take a jingle, because the jingle is what's selling this drug, because they want to get into your mind with the jingle first, and then ask questions later, right? They took this old song from the 1970s from a group called Pilot, right? The lead singer, David Payton, and he not only did the original song Magic, but he did the vocals for the commercial that we see on TV damn near every single day. Oh, Ozempic. That drug. And I've said it over and over and over again. And no knock on him because he's not really endorsing the product. But because of that jingle, it's catchy and it's appealing to the ear, which triggers the brain. And so when you have a weight loss drug, and by the way, Ozempic and all these, most of these weight loss drugs, Ozempic, it was originally marketed as a type 2 diabetes drug. Type 2 diabetes drug. As opposed to Wegovy and Mounjaro, I believe they're actually for specific weight loss for people that have been labeled obese, right? Obese, meaning that their weight has gotten so out of control that they believe that only a drug is the answer. Or in some cases, weight loss surgery, where they slice 3/4 of your stomach out as if it's your stomach's fault that you're overweight, as if it's your stomach's fault that you're obese, right? We're just going to take the stomach out. We're going to remove it. Just like we remove the uterus when a woman has cervical cancer or uterine cancer. We're just going to take it out. You don't need it anymore. What the hell? Right? You don't take the brain out, right? Because we have these negative thoughts about ourselves. These negative thoughts about how our weight is slowly but surely, steadily rising. And because we get caught up in everyday life, the rat race, and because we don't have the right information about our health and how to take better care of ourselves, we turn first to the drug, right? We tell our children to stay away from drugs, but when it comes to these type of drugs, we tell our children and our loved ones to run to them versus running away from them. Because again, we live in a drug pushing society. And on that show last night, there were representatives of Eli Lilly and can't think of the other one off the top. It'll come back to me. But they had two representatives from two separate drug companies. You know, these are glamorized drug pushers. That's pretty much what they are. I mean, they have labels as being the president of this, the president of that. But they're legal drug pushers, weight loss. And there have already been people that have gone public to talk about their hardships with these drugs. Matter of fact, let me see if I can go to, because I got something. Let me see if I can find it real quick while I'm on the air here, because I got something about one of the weight loss. Oh, here it is. Here it is. And here's the other company that was on Oprah, Novo Nordisk, which is a Swedish manufacturer of these weight loss drugs, right? Because remember, we live in a drug pushing society. But there's a war on drugs, right? Is there a war on weight loss drugs? No. Especially when you have celebrities endorsing them. So no, there's no war on weight loss drugs. The more we can market them, the merrier, because it's making people a lot of money, especially this one, Ozempic. I mean, it's been on the market now for publicly, as we've seen this commercial, for at least 7 years now. I mean, it's been on the market and it's been advertised for quite a long time, right? Because it's making the most money. So you're not gonna knock this train off the track when it's bringing in trailer after trailer after trailer and boatloads of revenue for the company and the representatives that are telling you it's okay to be dependent on these drugs.